guys, my name is Jeffries. I just graduated from the University of North Florida with my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, Child Concentration. So I'm looking forward to giving you guys some information about classroom behavior management with my buddy.
My name is Jonathan Henry, senior, University of North Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. Psychology major, Bachelor of Science with a minor in literature, of all things. And we're going to talk about classroom behavior management and group-based intervention. Okay, an advanced organizer is just a fancy term for an outline of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to explain and define labeled praise, planned ignoring, the marble jar activity, talk tickets, the good behavior game, tootling, and the social skills lottery. Okay, first, to define labeled praise is praising a student and being specific on what you're praising. So for example, if the student is on task, meaning they're following directions, they're doing their assigned work, they're staying in their seat, you might want to say, oh, hey, Johnny, great job on doing all of your work, or Johnny, great job on staying in your seat. So then instead of generalizing the praise, the child will have something to think about, like, oh, if I stay in my seat, then I'll receive praise, or if I do my work, I'll receive praise. And there's examples there. Great job focusing on math. Wow, you did an amazing job holding the door for your friend. So it's just a descriptor of the actual praise that's being given out. Okay, planned ignoring, also known as differential attention, is used for disruptive behavior. You want to remove the attention from the child when they are acting out in any certain kind of way that's undesirable. And that way they don't get a reaction from you, because getting a reaction from you may be what they want. They want that attention, so you want to turn away your eyes and body and not speak to them. And some important considerations are that that it's not harmful to themselves or others, which really, when you're ignoring somebody, I don't see that it could be particularly harmful. And you make sure you praise the student after the problem behavior ends, and that's very important, because if you ignore them and then they understand that you're ignoring them, when they throw a tantrum, when they stop tantruming, you say, great job for being a nice boy or a nice girl, and acting appropriately. So we have a group-based intervention game called the Marble Jar Game, and it's for them to work as a team to achieve a common goal. It makes them a collective group of students with a specific task, which is filling up the marble jar, and it makes them understand what the concept of a team looks like, which I think is pretty cool with this. They get a marble with labeled praise when the class as a whole does something well. So if the whole class did a great job walking quietly in the hallway, they get 2 marbles, and then they put them in this jar, and when the jar is full, they receive a reward, and it would be nice if the reward could be earned every day, so the children don't forget what they're working towards, because the memory span or attention of some individuals, especially with developmental disabilities, may not understand 5 weeks from now that they're working towards a pizza party. So maybe, like, for example, if they fill up the jar, if they put their marbles in the jar, like, oh, great job for putting marbles in the jar, now we're going to have 5 extra minutes of free time. So that's the marble jar game. There's different variations. I guess the one on the left is a mock jar, if you will, where they have Velcro on a picture of a jar. So then it's kind of more manageable, I guess. So it's so the balls don't get lost, or people take balls from somewhere that they found and put them in. The teacher can control the jar filling more. And next is talk tickets. Teachers are often busy and they can't speak with students the moment the child wishes to speak, so they give them a talk ticket. The tickets are given to the child or children for their redemption at an appropriate and designated talk time the teacher sets aside. So basically it gives them the responsibility to maintain for themselves that, okay, my ticket says that at the end of class I'm going to talk to Miss Jones, or during free time I'm going to talk to Miss Jones, and that I have to wait because the information that she's providing is often important, and then they can use the talk ticket to speak with you at the appropriate time. You give a certain number of talk tickets children can redeem, and if the children do not use all of them, they are allowed to exchange them for a small prize. This is kind of a reinforcing way to cut down on classroom talk or unnecessary disruption of asking questions, so the teacher can finish her lecture or her instruction. And you have to make sure the tickets are redeemed during the designated time, so they know, each student knows what time they can expect to talk to the teacher, or if they're exchanging them, they can. It's going to be at a certain time, so then they don't get jumpy and say, "Oh, I haven't used my talk tickets. I want a cookie right now." They wait, and there's a time for that, and it kind of is, in a way, serves as a time management and responsibility kind of technique. And now Ashley is going to explain the good behavior game and other interventions that are effective in the classroom.
So the good behavior game is a game developed by PAX. And how you play this game is you're going to allow students to help identify what good behaviors look like. And you're going to brainstorm all of the different things that the children think are a great behavior. And you're going to write them down. Then you're going to have students help you identify 3 behaviors that they feel are disruptive. It's very important that you stick to 3 behaviors that are disruptive, because you're later going to be using these within the game in order to provide some feedback to your students. And you don't want to be providing a whole lot of negative feedback. So we want to make sure we stick to 3 things, and we're only identifying those things when we're playing the game. So once you've identified these 3 behaviors that are disruptive, you use those as your point earning behaviors. So for instance, you could have talking to peers be one, shouting out instead of raising hands, or keeping your eyes off of the teacher or the task. Those could be your 3 point earning behaviors. Then what you want to do is pick a duration of time you wish to play the game that you expect the students to be on task. So you wouldn't want to pick something where they're like free time. Most of the time during that time it's a little more loose. You want to do something that you really expect them to be paying attention to you and having their full focus. Maybe circle time, whatever you think is best. So pick a specific time. For example, we wrote here 10 minutes during math instruction. You don't want to make the game too long that it's unattainable for them to have too many points racked up. You want to keep it kind of short, but you can play the game multiple times throughout the day. So try to start off at a lower number, and you could always increase the amount of time you're playing the good behavior game depending on how realistic the goal attaining becomes for your personal classroom. What you would do next is split the classroom into groups. That can be 2 groups, 3 groups, however you feel is best to separate it and however it's going to be easiest for you to be able to identify which group is which. So you kind of want to have them all in certain areas when you're playing the game. For instance, we did an example of table 1, 2, and 3. So if you have 3 separate tables that the students are sitting at, those would be the kind of thing that you want to do. Then you need to identify the start of the game to the students. This can look very different. You can add a musical element. You can just clearly define to the students that it's the start of the game, or pick something fun in order to identify that you're beginning the game. But you want it to be very clear to the students. You don't want to just start the game without letting them know. Once you've identified the start of the game, you're looking out for those identified disruptive behaviors. And remember, we said 3 that we've defined. We don't want to be picking out everything. Just the 3 things that we came up with as a class we're going to identify. So when an identified behavior occurs, you're going to note it. You can use a one-word identifier, or you can just say, table 3 is being disruptive, you've earned a point. But you don't want to make a big deal out of this. You kind of want to continue your class. You want to let them know that they're earning a point so that they can get back on task, but you don't want to cause too much attention in a negative behavior. You want to make sure that we're still keeping the game fun and positive. So after your time is up, whatever your designated time was, remember our example of 10 minutes during math time. So after our 10 minutes up, you'll tally up the team scores. Any group under a predetermined amount of tallies gets a quick activity or a tangible as a reward. However, you can also do a mystery, and you just say, hey class, I don't know how many behaviors you're going to be able to do before you don't earn the reward. So then it kind of makes it, they want the least amount of possible behaviors because they don't know when you're going to decide that that was too many. So for instance, we had table 1 with 3 points, table 2 with 1, and table 3 with 4. So let's say we would say we determined 3 was the number that we were looking out for. So table 1 and 2 would get to earn that reward. So it could be an activity, 5 minutes extra free time. They could go to circle time for 3 extra minutes, something like that, or go out of circle time 3 extra minutes early or something like that. And then table 3 would not get to do this activity, but you don't want to draw a lot of attention to it. So you would just say, table 1 and 2, go and have your extra free time, and then you would just say, table 3, better luck next time. So like we were saying, we don't want to draw too much attention to the fact that team 3 is not going to be getting to do the activity, but we do want to make sure that we really remind them that there is going to be another time, either during the day or tomorrow, in which they're going to be able to try and get that reward again. So there's some alternate versions to the good behavior game. Those alternate versions include identifying positive behaviors instead of negative behaviors. This is really great because it helps us come away from all of that negative, and it helps us really focus on the positive behaviors. Another reason that this is a great thing to do is it helps you as the teacher to give more labeled praise. A lot of times we get away from that because we're always identifying these kind of negative behaviors because they're really easy to grab and hold on to. And it's sometimes not as easy to identify positive behaviors. So this will help you get to that saying labeled praise more frequently. And we want it to be about 5 times to every one negative thing that you're doing. So this will help you in order to pick out those positive behaviors. And you're going to say things like, "Great job, team 1, for raising your hands and sitting quietly. You've gotten a point," instead of identifying those 3 negative behaviors like the other version of the game. Also, there's kind of an in-between version that we can do that's teacher versus students. This is great if you have really competitive students in your class and they're really getting on each other for always, one group is always winning, or really just saying like, "Oh, we won and you lost," and we want to kind of get away from all of that negativity and all that competitiveness. So instead, we can do teacher versus student, and that's going to give these students the opportunity to all work together as a team to go against you, the teacher. And why I say this is kind of an in-between version of the game is because you're going to be identifying the great behaviors and giving some good labeled praise to the students when they're doing good things, but you're also kind of going to identify for them, "Hey guys, we're not remaining in our seats, so I get a point this round." And that way, you're identifying the negative behavior, but again, not focusing on it, and you're still giving a lot of that good labeled praise. So those are some of the ways that you can change the behavior game to better fit your classroom. Right now, we're going to take a look at this video that'll give you kind of a visual of how the game is played. But remember, in this video, they're going to be using the negative, the 3 behavior identification instead of positive behaviors. So let's take a look at that real quick.
What's that fraction say?
One of the greatest challenges teachers face is managing student behavior during instructional time and transitional time. The PACS Good Behavior game addresses this concern by providing teachers with an easy-to-use, research-based strategy that reduces disruptions and allows students to focus on learning.
Thank you very much for those fingers in the air, ladies and gentlemen. So that signals our next good behavior game. I'm looking for some super quiet hands in the air.
First grade teacher Matt Burtness has been using the Good Behavior game for 6 months, and he plays it with his students 3 times a day.
What would a spleen look like if we were working in our math books?
Talking to your neighbors.
Talking to your neighbors would definitely be a spleen.
Saying shh to your friend.
Saying shh to your friend. We're just going to do a quick game before PCP, ladies and gentlemen. So, 8 minutes on the clock.
To start playing the game, you have to first create the PACS vision for your classroom. And the PACS vision is how you want your classroom to look, to feel, and to sound.
The students helped decide what they wanted the atmosphere of their classroom to be. Unwanted behaviors are called spleens, while positive behaviors such as staying in your seat or raising your hand are called PACS behaviors. The classroom has been divided into 3 teams, and the goal of each team is to behave in ways that will result in the fewest number of spleens.
Spleen table 3.
During the game, teachers continue with their regular classroom instruction, keeping an eye out for potential spleens.
When teachers notice that a student is being disruptive or off task, being distracted, they will just mark a point against that team without identifying the student in a very non-emotional tone, and then they will continue to teach.
Spleen table 3. What do all these subtraction equations have in common? Miss Adrian.
At the end, they all have 9.
At the end, they all have 9s, exactly right.
Before playing the game, students were taught different PACS cues, which are nonverbal strategies like the quiet sign, PACS hands, and PACS voices.
Let's try a 3-foot voice, please. Where 3 foot is normal talking. 60 minus 9 equals 7. Thank you very much.
The positive impacts of the Good Behavior game are evident throughout the school day. For example, Matt can give short verbal reminders that help students self-manage their behavior during instruction.
Go PACS. Nice work, buddy.
and transition times.
Ashley's giving me some super responsible PAX hands, keeping them to herself.
I've noticed that the students have become more responsible, more respectful, and more caring towards each other since playing the good behavior game.
One tool that contributes to this goodwill is Toodle Notes. Toodles are written compliments given to students or staff to acknowledge kind behavior.
I think I need to give one Toodle out to Mr. Terrell for being super responsible and doing his work the whole time.
One concern that was expressed when we were first introduced to the good behavior game was that it would take time away from class time, it would decrease students' time on task. But I think it's safe to say that it's done completely the opposite.
I learned a lot of stuff from playing this game. I just learned how to put my eyes on the teacher, on the board when he is talking to us. I just learned a lot of stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that signals the end of our game. Thank you very much for those 2 fingers in the air. So, our spleen count, we have table 1, no spleens, very nicely done. Table 2, we have 1 spleen, not too shabby. Table 3, we have 4 spleens. I am pretty sure that you guys will do better next time and make responsible PAX choices. Spleens that I noticed were, we had some students that were talking with each other. We had some students that were just not doing their work.
A team with 4 spleens or more sits out quietly while other teams receive a reward for their positive behavior. A prize from Granny's Wacky Prize Box. Today's prize?
Drum solos. This is your moment to rock. 12 seconds. Here we go.
The research shows very clearly that those kids that were exposed to the game in 1st and 2nd grades were less likely to be involved in aggressive and risky behaviors later in life, and also less likely to use tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs.
What 2 letters did she use, ladies and gentlemen?
It's helped organize the class, it's helped with teamwork, it's helped with collaboration, and those aren't just skills that they're going to need now, but those are skills they'll take with them in the future.
So like the video told you, some of the ways that the good behavior game helps us is it teaches our students teamwork, self-regulation, and delayed gratification. It also helps students become more aware of the actions of themselves and others. And it teaches them focus and responsibility. These are all great things for them to have now and in the future. Also, the video showed you a little bit of tootling. We're going to get a little bit further in depth into that. So we say tootling is better than tattling. So it's actually sort of the opposite of tattling. When somebody comes and tells you a bad behavior that somebody else does, instead we want them to look for good behaviors. Because remember, we're always trying to focus on positive behavior, not negative behavior. So instead of identifying the negative behaviors, students are going to identify positive behaviors or give compliments or nice statements to their peers. This can be in conjunction with the good behavior game like you saw on the video, or this can be completely separate intervention if you're just wanting to improve students' ability to recognize good behaviors or improve social skills. You don't have to use them together. What you would do is give students index cards, sticky notes, or a Toodle-specific paper that you've come up with to write on. And you would designate a time for these students to share their Toodles with you. You can either make a Toodle board or you can have a box where you put all of the Toodles in, whichever is best for your classroom, whatever you think is going to be least disruptive and best to keep the kids involved. So why do we do these Toodles? Well, it sets, again, a focus on positive behavior instead of negative. We're really always trying to go away from that. And students get recognized for behaviors that they're doing from their peers. So instead of just always being recognized by the teacher, they're getting recognized by each other. And while the students are looking for these positive behaviors in their peers, they're less likely to be doing the negative behaviors that you don't want them to be doing. So another way that we can keep some tips to keep these kids involved in doing these positive behavior recognitions is you can occasionally read the toodles out loud. You want to know what the students are recognizing each other for, and the students want to hear too. It gives them ideas for what they can recognize their peers for. It also is reinforcing for them to hear you read out loud the things that they've done throughout the day. For some added fun, you could choose one toodle and give a prize to the author and the recipient of the toodle, which then gets them more involved, and you can do that daily or weekly, whatever you think will keep your classroom more engaged in writing these toodle notes. And lastly, we want to talk about the social skills lottery. So this is similar to a toodle, except for you're looking out for these behaviors. And this might be a better way if you don't have students who are quite ready to write a toodle note out. This is a better way for you to be able to still recognize them for all of that good behavior that they're doing, but it's not challenging in that they need to write out an entire toodle and recognize each other. Instead, it's kind of a step towards toodling. And so what you can do is talk to your students for maybe 2 to 5 minutes in the morning about some sort of social skill that you'd like them to display for the day. So maybe that's sharing toys, and you tell them what it looks like and why it's good to share toys with your friends. And then you tell them you're going to look out for that skill all day or all week, whatever you want to do. And then when you catch a child doing the social skill, you can have the child write their name if they're able to do that on a ticket, or you can write their name and give it to the child, acknowledging that, giving a one-on-one acknowledgement of the fact that you saw them show this social skill, and then they can place it in the lottery jar. So it gives it two different dimensions. One, that you're giving them the one-on-one attention for doing something good, and two, they get the reinforcement of placing it into a jar or a shoebox, whatever you feel is best for your class in order to pull it out at the end of the day. But one thing we have to remind the students is that they can't tell you that they've done the social skill or that they saw Johnny do the social skill. You have to catch Johnny doing the social skill. And this way, it gives you know that they did the skill, and also you can give them that one-on-one attention instead of having a peer do it. Then at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, you're going to select a winner. So you can either, again, if you have it in a jar, shoebox, pull one out. Depending on how you feel about it, you can select one winner, 2 winners. It depends on how many lotteries you're doing and how often you want to do this. And then those lottery winners get a prize. The great thing about this is that kids catch on really fast that if they have more tickets in the lottery, they're going to be able to have their name pulled more often. So they're much more likely to do the social skills that you're looking for because they want their name in that lottery as many times as they can get it in there. So we wanted to wrap up with just letting you guys, reminding everyone, because we all need a reminder sometimes, that success is a journey and not a destination. It's not going to be perfect. Your implementation of all of these interventions, they're going to take time for the students to understand them and to acclimate to them. But you really want to stick with it. And if you don't remember a single thing about our presentation today besides positive reinforcement and making sure that we're doing good labeled praise and we're giving the students lots of good attention when they are promoting positive behaviors, then that's perfect, because really all of these interventions surround that whole idea that the positive attention for positive behaviors is better than negative attention and drawing that attention to things that you don't want. So we wish you the best of luck on your journey and hope that in the future these can help you to manage some of those classroom behaviors.